your latest book, you know, the Laws of Sublime. What can you tell us about it? Can you give us any exclusives?
Yeah, I mean the general idea is I've explored it in if you've read the 50th law in law number 10 about the sublime, and then in the 18th chapter, the law of human nature. But basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm creating this sort of metaphor, kind of a grand narrative to go back to that idea we discussed earlier. And the idea is that to be human means to have rules and conventions and codes because we're a social animal and we try and at least maintain that, pretend that we're civilized. And those rules and conventions create a kind of circle, and we stay within that circle. And it's not just what we do in life, but our thinking. We're kind of affected by that. We don't think about things that are beyond that circle. We've been conditioned, we've been trained to think about life and death and pleasure and everything else in this certain way. And it becomes this kind of enclosed space that we all mentally inhabit and we are afraid to go beyond. Well, the sublime is what lies just outside that circle. It lies in taking your mind what is beyond where we're supposed to go, to other ideas about the world, to other ways of thinking, to other ways of feeling, to other kinds of experiences, to kind of exploring beyond your own limits, your own potential. And what happens to you? What happens to you is you're transformed. You're so excited because humans we don't naturally like limits. When your mother told you, don't do that, that's exactly what you want to do. It's our perverse nature to want to explode limits, to go beyond them. So this feeling that we're all in this imprisonment, this kind of politically correct, self-enclosed prison with all these codes and rules, what we can say and what we can do, we're sick of it. Secretly, we're sick of it. And so it's a pressure on us, and we want to go outside that circle. And death is the ultimate limit of all, right? There's nothing we can't go beyond death.
Yeah.
But if you go up to that threshold of the edge of that circle and you meditate on your death and you meditate on your mortality, you get a glimpse through the door. These are metaphors that I develop in the book, but the word sublime from the Latin means up to the threshold of a door. And looking through that door on the other side is a sublime experience. So when you take a hike and you're feeling like a sense of awe at everything that you're seeing, and you're feeling your heart beating and you're feeling this rush of adrenaline, you're so excited, you're experiencing a sublime emotion. And that sublime emotion is a kind of an expansiveness as opposed to the closed spirit that we normally have. And it's liberating and it's exciting. You can't go around. So there's the grand moments of the sublime, and then there's the daily moments of the sublime that you'll get in your meditation, that you'll get in how it transforms your thinking. If you look around you at the world and realize that it's impermanent, that it's going to be gone, these are sublime thoughts that will trail through you throughout your life. And basically, I think a lot of people are suffering nowadays by very narrow limits on what they can think. So just on the level of politics or on the social level, we assume that the world has to be the way it is now. Even though if I were in my 20s, I would be very upset that I've inherited this world, this political structure, the way things are set up, that doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel alive, right? And so we assume that this is the way things have to be. But we're humans. We create our own reality. We have imaginations. We can imagine new kinds of political structures. We can imagine new kinds of social ways of interacting. We can create instead of just passively consuming what other people give us. And so I think we live in times where people have just been kind of trained to think in narrower and act in narrower and narrow circles. And I really want to write a book that's going to make you think that there are other ways of acting in this world. There are other ways of thinking. There are other ways of other perspective. So that's my little tease of what the book will be about.